Hi guys, Juice here. I am here to film my September wrap up, and for the month of September I have read 15 books. That's a lot. So in this video I'll be talking about my books I read in September, which there's a small stack behind me, which you will see in the thumbnail that I try to take. I also have 3 books I am currently in the middle of, and I wanted to talk about those, but I'll talk about these towards the end of the wrap up if I remember to put them in. So I'm here with my current reads update and a wrap up. So I'm gonna start with my reading stats and page count, and what was my biggest book and what was my smallest book. So for the month of September, I have 0 1 stars, 0 2 stars, 2 3 stars. 8 of these were 4 stars. 5 of these books were 5 stars. I had 1 physical arc. I had 12 of these were audiobooks. 9 of these was bud reads. 1 of these is a completed series. 2 of these are graphic novels. 1 of these were book of the month. 3 of these were library books, and then 3 of these I physically read, and 2 of these were Owl Crate books that I read. And also the last 3 books that I'm going to talk about today, not my current reads. The last 3 books I'm going to talk about before my current reads are books I mentioned in my first reading vlog I did for my channel, which will be linked down below in case you missed it. My page count for the month of September was 5,625, and I'll talk about my smallest book of the month and my biggest book of the month for September when I'm talking through my wrap up. As you guys know, for me, I suck at summaries and telling you what the book is about. A lot of these are sequels, so it's gonna be really like quick and fast wrap up, I hope, because I don't want to spoil you of what happens in the sequels, obviously, because that would be terrible. But I have 15 books, so enough of my intro, and let's just jump into this video. And behind me, these books are what I'm planning to read in October, so you guys get a little tease in what my October TBR is going to be. I'm actually hoping to film my October TBR right after this video, so you will have 2 videos from me tonight, or I'll post my October TBR tomorrow. And tonight is Friday, October 9th, so you'll probably get it on Saturday. So let's just jump into it with that long intro. And yeah, we're going to jump into my first book of the month. The first book that I read for the month of September was The Trials of Apollo, Book 4, The Triton's Tomb by Rick Riordan. This is a 4th installment of the series, and it's crazy that this series is already over. The 5th and final book came out the first week of October, which is this week. And I remember getting super excited for this series. I remember when the series was first announced. I remember when I started this series, because I started the series my sophomore year of high school, and I'm now like a freshman or sophomore in college. And I am at the end of the series, and I'm sad because the Tower of Nero, which is the 5th and final book in this installment, that's Rick Riordan's 30th book. That's right, 30 books he has, and that's not counting his graphic novels that he has. The Triton Tomb follows right after what happens in The Burning Maze, which is a 3rd installment. And if you read that book, you know each of his books has a huge cliffhanger. So I definitely advise you guys to binge read the series if you can, instead of waiting a year for each installment like I had to. But now that all 5 books are out, you can binge read the whole Percy Jackson universe. You can start with the Percy Jackson series and read the Heroes of Olympus, and then read Magnus Chase, and then read Apollo. That's how I did it, and that's how I really enjoyed this world. This one I gave a 5 out of 5 stars too. This is one of my favorite reads of the month, and I just love the narrator for this audiobook. His voice was like super well done, and he just kind of matches the comedian side of Apollo very much, and I really enjoyed it. There's some death in here, which I was shocked that he put some death in here, but I was also not surprised at, because it's almost towards the end of the series, so he had to kill someone off. I'm not gonna say who, but I really enjoyed this one. This is a sequel, so it's hard for me to talk about, but if you read all 3 Apollo books and haven't read book 4 yet, I definitely recommend you reading this one, and I give this a 5 out of 5 stars. The next book I have read was Cry's War by Nina Valeria. This is the first book in a duology. The sequel just came out this month, or came out in September, and I have that on my, spoiler alert, October TBR behind me. I read this one super quickly. I think I read it in 1 or 2 days. I was supposed to buddy read this with my friend Deborah on Instagram, and she wanted to buddy read this back in August, but my audiobook didn't came in on time because I had it on hold via my Overdrive, and it didn't came in till like the 2nd week of September or something like that, and she already finished the book by then, and so she told me her thoughts and feelings on it, and I think we had the same thoughts and feelings on this book, as although we didn't quite buddy read it at the same time. It was still fun to talk about this book with someone else, because this is definitely an underhyped book. This came out last year, I think, and this has such a shiny cover, so sorry if it's blinding you guys a little bit. But this was an LGBT romance. The romance doesn't really kick in, though, until like midway through the novel, and which I wish it had it throughout the novel and not just like midway, so that's like the con of this book. The writing was amazing. The pacing was, the beginning of this book was slow, but like midway through the book, where like all the action and romance was happening, it picked up, and I flew through this last half of the book, and as soon as I closed this one, I immediately pre-ordered book 2, and it came here on time. So I'll be talking more about book 2 in my September book haul and my October TBR, which are my next couple of videos that I am making. Overall, I really enjoyed the narrator for this audiobook as well. I give this one a 4 out of 5 stars, and thank you, Owl Crate, for putting this in your box as of last year. So, yay. The next book I have is a reread for me, and I'm hosting a read-along for this. I'm using the hashtag Ember Buddy Read, and I'm actually having a Zoom meeting discussing about this first book, and that is An Ember in the Ashes by Sabit Shahir. As you know, I spoiled the surprise for you. I only read book 1 and 2 before, and I never read book 3, which I think is called A Reaper at the Gates, if that's the 3rd one. I wanted to read the series because book 4 is coming out in December of this year, and so I thought perfect time to reread the first 3 books. I only read book 1 and 2, so only the first 2 books will be a reread for me, but reading book 3 in November, hopefully, if we keep on track of the reading schedule that we have, would be just in time for book 4. We're reading each book of the series a month. There's only 4 books. Technically there's a 5 because there's a graphic novel that is a prequel to the series, but I don't know if everyone's going to want to read that. But An Ember in the Ashes is a first book in a 4-book series, and this is set in an Empire Roman inspired army type of setting of a novel, and this follows our main character Lila, who is a slave, and Elias, who's a soldier, and these 2 characters are very gray characters. They are super dark, and this book in general is just super dark. There was so much action packed right from page 1, and I forgot how dark this book can be. Sabit Shahir can be a bit brutal in this whole world. So I'm really looking forward to reading book 2, and hopefully we will have a good Zoom meeting discussing about this book tomorrow. I give this one a 5 out of 5 stars, and again, I listened to the audiobook of this one, so really enjoyed this one. Then the next 2 books I'm going to talk about, I only own one of them, but that is Fence Volume 1 by S.C. Picat, I think is how you say her name. This is the first book, and then I also read Fence Volume 2, so if I know how to put pictures in the video, I will put a picture up here in the screen. I Didn't really love the first volume my second time around reading it, but overall it was a nice, easy LGBT romance novel. And it was a graphic novel too, so it was easy for me to read. I don't know if you guys count graphic novels as a, like, um, book count at the end of each month, but this is the artwork of the book, and I just really enjoyed the artwork, and I love being back in this world, and I definitely need to reread volume 3 whenever I can get my hands on it. I borrowed volume 2 from my Overdrive account, so I'm really excited. Also, Friends volume 1 was my smallest book of the month that I read because it was only 112 pages, so that's definitely my smallest book. I give this one a 3 out of 5 stars. It wasn't my favorite the second time around, but I gave volume 2 a 4 out of 5 stars. Moving on to my next book, I read this book at the perfect time in September, and that is Reflection by Elizabeth Lim. This is the 4th installment in the Twisted Tales series. Although this is number 4, you do not have to read these in order. I hear from a lot of different people who have already read this whole entire series that you can read these in a chronological order, or you can read this out of order. I read this at the perfect time this month because the live action film for Mulan was supposed to come out in theaters, and it just never did because of the pandemic. I buddy read this with my friend Libby, and I think we both really loved this. I don't know about her, but I know I was shocked by how dark this was. And this is a Disney twisted tale novel, and it says, what if Mulan had to travel to the underworld? And each book in this series takes on that tagline of the book, and they focus on that subject, and they just twisted it around very darkly. They make these books darker than they are in the movie, so this one was based off of Mulan, and this was my first book by Elizabeth Lim. She's the author of the Spin the Dawn duology, which I haven't read yet, but I own the first book on my TBR shelf. So I might pick up Spin the Dawn next, sometimes this fall, just because of how much I loved this, and there was definitely lots of twists and turns in this one. Kept me turning the pages, and I overall really enjoyed this. I gave this one a 4 out of 5 stars. If I keep looking down, it's because I don't want to miss any of my library books that I've mentioned. So the next one is actually a library book, and that is Only Mostly Devastated by Sophie Gonzalez. This was another LGBT romance novel. I gave this one a 3 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. The only thing I didn't enjoy, the characters were amazing. There was text messages throughout this book, so I flew through it. I read this book in one day with my friend Heather, and we both didn't give it 5 stars, but we both thought it was an enjoyable buddy read, and we just love how we both flew through it. And the narrator was familiar. I think that narrator for the audiobook is the same narrator who does the Simon versus the Homo sapiens and Gender book, because I listened to all of those on audio. So I really enjoyed that one. I give that one a 3.5 out of 5 stars. So, and then the next book I'm really excited to talk about. I am going to mention this in my August book haul. If you guys still want an August book haul, let me know down below. And so this book will be mentioned in my August book haul, and that is Set Fire to the Gods by Sarah Rosh and Kirsten Simon. This was my first book by Sarah Rosh in a while. The first book I actually read by her was her debut novel, Snow Like Ashes. I read the first 2 in that trilogy when I was in high school, and I just never completed that trilogy, so I might reread that trilogy next year and see if I still love the first 2 books. This one I buddy read with my friend Lori, and we haven't buddy read anything, which is weird because we've been friends for about a year now, and we're like, let's just start a buddy read in September and see how it goes. And we both love this book. This book, if you love An Ember in the Ashes, which I mentioned in this wrap up, you would definitely love this. This one and An Ember in the Ashes reminded me a lot about these 2 books. So if you've read An Ember in the Ashes and you haven't read this one yet, you should read this one, or vice versa. If you read this one and haven't read An Ember in the Ashes yet, then you should do that. I really enjoyed these. These two characters definitely remind me a little bit of Elias and Lila, but they have their own completely separate world. The setting is kind of similar to it now that I'm thinking of it, but this follows our main character Ash and Maddock. I forgot how they mention it in the audiobook, but look at this beautiful map. I bought this book at Barnes & Noble the day it came out, and I just really was excited to read it, and I never got around to it in August until now. But this is such a great like fall, I don't even know if this is this is like a fall fantasy read. I don't know if this is a fantasy or like a dystopian. I don't know if that makes sense, but if you read this book you know what I'm talking about. But I really enjoyed this. The character, the world, the magic system in this was really interesting. I remember finishing this book before Lori, I think, just because I had the audio and she physically read the books that we buddy read. And I remember like screaming. I was so excited. I was like, you have to finish this book. It was so amazing. It left on the cliffhanger, and I want book 2 really, really bad. So book 2 comes out next year, according to Sarah Rosh, who mentioned that in one of my comments on my book review on Twitter, which was really nice of her. So thank you, Sarah Rosh, for commenting on my posts. I know you won't be able to see this video, but I really enjoyed it. It's kind of short for a first book in the series, but I flew through this, and I give this one a 4 out of 5 stars, and it's definitely like a book I will recommend throughout the next couple of years. So the next book I have is a new release that I was really shocked by, and that is Girl, Serpent, and Thorn by Melissa Bassadote, I think is how you say the author's name. Look at this pretty cover. This is a book that I got from Book of the Month, in case you can't tell by that little symbol there. This is a Snow White retelling, I think, if I remember correctly. This was really an interesting read for me, and like a new world. It was a little bit hard for me to get into this because there is a magic system in this one as well. This is a YA fantasy novel that I got from Book of the Month back in July, and I just never read it till now. I feel like that's what I'm going to say for most of these books. I had these books for a while, and I just never read them until the fall. I don't know why, but like I mentioned in my fall book recommendation videos, I generally read a lot of fantasy between September and November, just because that's the fall season and that's when I feel like I should read fantasy. Girl, Serpent, and Thorn was the second book by Melissa, and I haven't read her first book. I forgot what her first book is called. Girls Made of Snow and Glass. I haven't read that one, but I saw that one going around booktube a couple of years ago. I don't know if it was last year or 2018, but I saw that book going around and I was like, oh, interesting. So this one I buddy with my friend Tiffany and a whole bunch of people on Instagram. We had a group chat and we were talking about this one, and I really enjoyed this. I was shocked by how much I loved this. I was like, this is another retelling of a Snow White, so I don't know if I will really love this one, but this one was very dark and very like gruesome, and it was just overall really good. It's also very short. It's a short fantasy book, so if you love a short fantasy YA retelling, this is definitely a good one to pick up this fall. And I'm so happy I got this from Book of the Month, and I was also happy that I read this month, because I have a lot of Book of the Month books left on my TBR shelf that I need to get to, so I'm happy that one of them is off my TBR shelf. I give this one a 4 out of 5 stars. I don't know if I mentioned the star rating or not. And then the next book that I have to talk about is Nocturna. I forgot who the author of this one is, but I buddy read this with the Dragons and Tea book club that Melanie and Amy run. Melanie from Melanie to the NE, and Amy from A Quarter Wings and Ruins on Instagram. I'll leave both of their accounts down below, and I'll also leave the Dragon and Tea book club down below, because I love buddy reading with that book club. They started last year and they're going on strong this year. Nocturna was a debut novel from Maya. I forgot her last name. I know her first name is Maya, so I'm just going to say her first name. Maya was a debut novel last year, and I never read Nocturna last year. I just wasn't interested in it. But then once I heard Mel and Amy talking about what Nocturna is about, I was like, okay, this is interesting. It's a Latinx X inspired world and its own voices, and it also has LGBT books or LGBT romance in it. So I really enjoyed it. I gave that one 4 out of 5 stars, and I do have a review on Goodreads for Nocturna, so if you want that review, I'll leave it down below. So yeah, and then the next 2 books I'm going to talk about at the same time because they are the second and third book in a trilogy that I completed this month, and that is Legendary by Stephanie Garber and Finale by Stephanie Garber. I finally completed this series. I am so happy that I completed this series. I read book 1 as soon as it came out. I don't know if I got my copy from Owl Crate or not, but I think I either bought Carvel or it came in an Owl Crate. I don't know, where is that? It's behind these books, so I'm not really going to look for the first book. But I don't know if I got it from Owl Crate or if it's from Amazon or Barnes & Noble or wherever I buy my books from. Legendary, I know I bought myself because this came out last year this came out 2018, around my graduation time. Or this one did. I can't remember. One of these came out during my senior year of high school when I was just about to graduate. So one of these was like a graduation present to myself. I'm going to say it's this one because this one I got in the Owl Crate box, I know for sure. So thank you, Owl Crate, to introduce me to this amazing world. I won't be talking much about these 2. Just know that you definitely want to binge this trilogy. My friend Taylor is currently reading this first book in this trilogy, and she's been texting me all her feelings, and she's loving the first book. So I'm really excited to see how she thinks of these 2 because I just completed this series myself. And just look at these covers. These covers are amazing. Legendary was actually a reread for me, so I give this one a 4 out of 5 stars. And then I read Finale for the first time, and I give this one a 5 out of 5 stars. It was just a nice wrap up to this trilogy, and I was very happy of how it ends. And I think there's going to be a 4th book in this series, or it's just going to be like a spin-off book to the trilogy. I'm not too sure if that's still in the works or not. But if there is another book in this world, I'm going to be really happy because I miss this world already, and I need all the fan art for this world. And then the last 3 books that I have here, I'm going to fly through it because I talked a lot about these last 3 books here in my reading vlog that I just posted last week. And the first one out of the 3 is Maya and the Rise, or no. The first one out of the 3 is Nevermore, The Trials of Morgan Crow by Jessica Townsend. This is the first book in a middle grade trilogy. Man, I can't talk tonight. In a middle grade trilogy. The 3rd book comes out mid-October, so I have plenty of time to read book 2 still. And I really enjoy my reread of this. I first read this last year around February and March. And I remember reading this, and I remember falling in love with it the first time. And I fell in love with this over again because I think I physically read this book last year, and then I listened to the audiobook of this one this year, and I love the narrative for it. So I really enjoyed this. This was a book that I wasn't planning on reading this month, but then Owl Crate Jr., who is the middle grade company for Owl Crate, they were hosting a read-along for this whole series because they were doing a limited edition box for the 3rd book, which is now sold out. I was going to get it after I got my paycheck this week, but I waited too long because now they're sold out of the 3rd book, which is okay because I will still support this author. I think I'm actually on hold for the 2nd and 3rd book of this trilogy through my library. But yeah, I'm really, overall, really happy with my reread, and I give this one a 5 out of 5 stars. Another 5 out of 5 star read that I have was Maya and the Rising Dark by Raina Barron. This was another middle grade novel, and this was my only arc that I read. I physically read this, and this one actually took me a while to read because I don't know if I just couldn't finish it because I know there will be a cliffhanger slash waiting game for book 2, but I really enjoyed this. I give it 5 out of 5 stars. This looks like a Rick Riordan present imprint book, but it's not. It's a middle grade novel with mythology aspect, and I really think it's cool. People outside of the imprint are trying to do what Rick Riordan does, and I will definitely recommend this. If you love the Percy Jackson books, you would definitely love this. This follows Maya, who is a 12-year-old girl. 12-year-old girl, and one day she's sitting in her math classroom, and she looks outside the window and she sees the colors of the world disappearing right before her eyes. And so there's this whole like mythological world that she doesn't know that she's living in, and her dad, I forgot what they call them, what type of like mythology creatures they call them. I know Maya is called a godling, so Maya's dad is a god, which you learn that from the very beginning of the book, so it's not a spoiler. But I was shocked by how this ended for some odd reason. Because I wasn't sure how this was gonna end, because this is a quest for Maya, because her dad goes missing. Her dad never comes back home from a work trip, and so he never comes back home, and so Maya and her mom gets worried, and then she finds out that she's part human, part god, and so they go on this quest to try and find her father. I don't know if they will find her father. If they do, I'm very happy for it. I give this 5 out of 5 stars though. I really love how there was a little cliffhanger for book 2, and I'm really excited for book 2. I will be buying a physical copy of this, so if anyone want to trade this arc with me, I'm willing to trade. But I definitely recommend this book if you're looking for a new middle grade and its own voices, which I forgot to mention. And there's LGBT representation, because one of the side characters in here has 2 moms in this book, and the 2 side characters are hilarious. So I really enjoyed this. I love Maya, and I love all the actionness that was in this book, so definitely check this one out. And then the last book that I have to talk to you today is my adult mystery thriller, and that was The Last Time I Lied by Riley Sager. I talked about this in my August book haul. I really am excited to read the final book that I need to read by him, which is called Final Girls. I've read all 3 books by Riley Sager, and I completely fall in love with them. This one wasn't a 5-star read for me for some odd reason. I don't know why it wasn't a 5 stars, but I gave this one a 4 out of 5 stars. And I talked a lot about this one in my reading vlog, because I focus on these last 3 books right here in my reading vlog for the 4-day weekend that I had, because I took 2 days off from work, so I had a 4-day weekend, and I decided to do a reading vlog for those 4 days, and so I talked more about this. I won't be talking much about this one because this video is already long enough, but this one was a 4 out of 5 stars, and I gave you my thoughts and feelings in that reading vlog, which again will be left down below. And then the last 3 books that I have to talk about here today are my current reads. So these are what I'm currently reading. I have 2 paperbacks and 1 hardcover. The first book is a physical arc that I got from Wednesday Books. So thank you so much, Wednesday Books, for sending this arc my way. And that is A Golden Fury by Samantha Coe. This is a first book. I don't know if this is actually like a first book in a series, but this is a debut novel from Wednesday Books and from Samantha. I don't really know a lot about Samantha's like background as an author or what she does. Usually I know a lot about the author before reading the debut novel, but I don't for this one. I am on chapter 4, page 36, and I'm really enjoying this. It's, for me, whenever I read arcs, like a physical arc, I love having a physical arc because I can hold them up in the video and say, hey, this book is coming out soon. This book in particular is coming out October 13th, which is this coming Tuesday as this video is going to go up. And I'm really enjoying this. This says on the front, is it science or magic, power or possession? This is set in 1792 France as a teenage alchemist is on the verge of a life-changing discovery, but the cost may be her own mind. With the Europe in the throes of revelation, Thea Hope has never been closer to uncovering the ultimate prize, the Philosopher's Stone, which would allow her to transform lead into gold and heal all wounds. But something so powerful could never go unnoticed. Ominous forces will stop at nothing to gain the stone's power. Thea must risk everything she knows and love in a deadly race to make history. This sounds really good. Emily A. Duncan, who's the author of the Wicked Saint series, blurbed this. She says, sharply written and with a crackling, compassionately determined heroine, a vivid ride through 18th century Europe, with darkness and dread creeping at its corners. So that tagline and the summary of this book is the reason why I requested this, and plus I had an e-arc of this on NetGalley, but I just don't like reading stuff on my phone anymore. I don't know why. But yeah, I'm not that far into it. I'm hoping to make more progress. I might do a reading vlog for this book in particular just to show my reaction to it, because this book does come out October 13th, which is next Tuesday. And then the last two books I have to talk to you today is Well Played by Jen DeLuca. This is a new release that just came out in September, and I was super excited for it because I read Well Met, which I own right here on my Book of the Month shelf. I got Well Met from Book of the Month, and I read that back in March or April. I can't remember exactly what month, but I just remember reading Well Met in one sitting, and I fell in love with that book and that romance world. I really love the characters in the first book. This is a companion novel, so you don't really have to read it right after Well Met, but I will suggest you guys reading this right after Well Met because there's some characters from the first book into this one, and we follow two different characters. We follow Stacy and I forgot who the male lead, Stacy and Dex. We follow those two characters who we meet in the first book, and it's just their love story of this. So I'm flying through this. I started this one this morning, and I'm already like 110 pages into it, and this book is only 325. So I might finish this one up this weekend. So I might do a reading vlog this weekend of me reading these two books and my next read. If you guys would like that reading vlog, let me know down below and I'll film that for you guys. But yeah, I'm overall really enjoying this one, and I'm hoping to finish this over the weekend. The next book I am actually hoping to finish over the weekend. This book is due on Monday, and that is The House in the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune. I hear nothing but amazing things about this book. This book is a new release that came out back in March, but I just never got my hands on it till now because there was a lot of people waiting for this book, me including. I still have a lot of people waiting after me, so I'm not that far into this one. I am chapter 6, page 90, and I'm really enjoying this. It's a bit slow for my taste, so that's why I picked up a romance novel, because I know I will fly through this one. But this is a book that I couldn't renew on my online account for my library, so I'm not trying to race through this book because I hear amazing things about this book, but I am trying to finish this before Monday because it's due on Monday, and they're not doing they're still doing renews, but not for books that I was on hold for other people. They're not doing that anymore, so this book is due Monday, and I'm really enjoying this, and I'm actually reading this for a secret TBR. I'm doing a secret TBR. Well, it's not secret anymore. I'm doing a theme around friends recommending me their favorite book that they read either this year or last year, and my friend Lori, who I mentioned in this video already, read this one, and she said this is her #1 favorite read of 2020. So I'm really excited for this, and I just hear nothing but amazing things about this, and I'm already enjoying what I read of it so far. So again, I'm just hoping to finish it over the weekend. So there you have it. Those are all the books that I've read in the month of September. It's a long video for you guys. I had to split this up in 3 different parts just so the video itself is not long. And so yeah, I won't be showing you the stack that I normally show you after my wrap-ups, because there's a lot of books on the stack and it was actually heavy for me to lift up, which sounds weak of me, but 15 books plus 3 is a lot of books to carry. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. If you haven't checked out my first reading vlog I made on my channel, that will be linked down below. All my friends that I mentioned for who I buddy read with will also be left down below, so check out their social media, check out their Instagram page, and I will really appreciate it if you guys could follow them. And also look forward to my October TBR coming. As you can see, there's 1, 2, and 3 stacks of books that I need to talk about in my October TBR, and I've already read 2 books off my TBR so far, so I'm in the middle of 3 and I already read 2, so hopefully those 3 books will get read this weekend. And once again, thank you guys for watching this long video, and I hope you stay tuned for my October TBR. If you don't want to miss my October TBR, now is the perfect time to hit that subscribe button, put your notification on so you don't miss any more of my videos if you've been missing them, and hit the thumb button for a thumbs up. And I'll talk to you guys later. I hope you have a great day or night, and I'll chat with you guys down in the comments below. And have a great day or night, and happy reading.